And now, the international Vienna for everyone. And now, the international...
I'll ask you anyway, because the first thing that came to my mind when I saw your name, are you related to Trevor Carlin?
Man, I wish. I get that question.
Everyone asks.
Yeah. Everyone always asks, and I wish, but no, he's a funny guy. But
he was definitely a funny guy. But I thought, how cool would that be?
Yeah. I wish. There's a fair amount of like Carlins in the U.S. Surprisingly, I no relation to him, but I wish. He's a funny guy. I like some of his jokes about golf.
Which one? I don't. I only remember the religious ones.
Yeah. He makes some jokes about golf, saying like, "Oh, you know why they call it a stroke? You know, it's because like you're hitting the ball over and over and making all these mess ups, and you know, by the end you're so frustrated you have a stroke. You know, because it's so hard." And I always love that. I like playing golf with my dad. So
yeah,
Trevor Carlin was like a popular comedian in our household, but no relation.
Did you play golf in the U.S.?
Yeah, I played golf. Growing up with my dad was like one of my first sports, actually. There's like a video of me like running around in the living room, like naked with a little golf club, you know, smacking the ball around the
well, that sounds weird.
Yeah. Not the most PG thing, but it's a favorite for my parents to like show my my girlfriend and stuff when I come over. But it started with golf with my dad, and whenever I go back to the U.S., I play with him pretty often. But it's a little expensive out here, so I usually just do it.
It's more expensive here?
I think so. Yeah.
There is kind of a more popular thing. Maybe not everyone can be a club member or something, but you can go once in a while.
Well, there's like the player license and stuff here, which I think is like crazy.
A license?
I think you have to get a player license, and then you have to take like a etiquette class or something like that. I'm still trying to learn, what you have to do to play golf out here, because I do eventually want to play.
Why do they have to make everything so complicated?
It's a little posh. I don't know. The bureaucracy, I feel like, is kind of everywhere when it comes to...
you're not skiing for the national team. It's just
you just want to play golf on the weekends.
I never played golf, but the way I see it, if I would play golf, it's because I would like to hang out and talk to people, not for the sake of the sport alone. That's the beauty of it. So you talk, you smoke a cigar, and you drink, and you eat, and you continue playing again, because it's not a fast sport. It's just to pass the time, the way I see it.
It's awesome. Spend a few hours out in the sun, walk around, have a frechizaal, hang out with the boys.
So that's probably why it's not popular here.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of a barrier to entry. I mean, like it's behind like a little bit of a paywall, so to speak. But
there is a huge golf course, I think, on somewhere south of Vienna. As soon as you go out of Vienna,
is it the Wienerberg one? There's one down there. I think it's like around the 10th district.
Could be
fairly nice. There's actually a little more golf courses here than I originally assumed. I thought,
I wonder who plays.
Some rich people somewhere.
I mean, golf has always had this reputation of the sport of the rich people, but as you said, in the US it seems like, okay, maybe you don't have to be super rich to play it. You can afford it once in a while if you have stable incomes, let's say.
I think one of the strengths that they do in the US is they have a lot of municipal courses, right? So they have more affordable courses for everyone. They're not so strict with rules. A lot of people just play in t-shirts. It's not a very dress code oriented place, and everyone has access. It's affordable, and I kind of like that. Obviously we have a little bit more space there to do that, but there is like an opportunity for especially high schoolers, young people, to get into golf without having to pay $50, $60 a round. They can pay $15, get in, play with their friends, and I think it's really unique that we have that, and it's cheap and affordable, whereas other places not so much.
Yeah, makes sense. I love your pin.
Thanks, man. Big Austria America fan. So,
how long you've been here for?
Been here actually just a little over 2 years. I moved here February 6th, 2023.
So 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Exactly.
Almost a day. Yeah.
Wow.
It's flown by. It's been really cool.
What brought you here?
So originally, I'm from Northern California, and then I got to travel a little bit when I was in the military. And I had lived in Budapest for a year working at the embassy there, and I really enjoyed my time in Europe. And so after I finished my bachelor's degree back in the US, I really wanted to study abroad. and learn German. And so I looked up some master's programs.
You wanted to learn German?
Wanted to learn German.
Who are you? What are you?
A man who loves doing side quests, you know, trying to learn a difficult language.
Well, you went to the you went in the military, so I think German is easier.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the discipline I learned in the military is really helpful with learning German, because some of the articles and the cases are so complicated, but it's a fun challenge for sure.
Wow. And then you ended up registering, enroll into university here?
Yeah, so I did I did a summer study abroad in Berlin to learn German. So I had a little bit of exposure in classes before I came here, and I really enjoyed it. I visited Vienna for a weekend, and I was like, this is a beautiful city. I'd love to come here and stay. And so that's when I found VU and applied. They had an English program, and I got in, and as soon as I got the email, I was like, all right, let's do it, you know, like, finished the lease on my apartment and kind of hopped on a plane and flew right over here.
What did you enroll for?
So in my bachelor's, I did economics, and here I'm doing business communication.
Okay, but what is? How did you end up in the sport that you ended up doing?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a long story.
First of all, explain to me what's going on with sports and why no one knows about it. It's American football,
American football, right. So American football is probably our biggest sport in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the Super Bowl coming up in a couple days, and
probably it's already past when this is on air, but
yeah. But American football is really big in the U.S. and it's slowly slowly growing here in Europe. And when I finished my time in the military, I really wanted to play football in college. And in America, college football is really big, and for a lot of people it's a stepping stone to the NFL. For me, I just wanted the experience of playing, so I played in college for a few years, and then I actually found out that there was football being played around the world when I was working for the US Embassy. And in 2018 I was living in Shanghai, China, and I started playing football for the Shanghai Warriors in China and played for them for 2 years, and we won a championship there. And then I also played.
Shanghai Warrior is a college team, or
they're like a semi-professional team in the Chinese Football League. Even Barstool Sports did a little documentary about them in 2017.
Wow!
So they're in the area. They're kind of like a niche thing, but they're somewhat known in the football community.
Okay.
So I got to play with them, and then play in Budapest, Hungary, and then. Got to come here to Austria, and I found out that the ACSL, the Austrian College Sports League, has football teams.
Which I had no idea it existed.
I had no idea either until I came here. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
And I originally came here to play with the Vienna Knights, which was a team in the Austrian Football League. I played with them for a season, and then wanted to play for my university, VU, and it's been an incredible experience so far.
So what do you play?
So I play linebacker, which, you know, for those who don't really know, it's
like
you're on
me?
defense.
Okay.
So basically, you're on defense, and you're trying to stop the guys with the ball. You want to, you know, stop the quarterback from throwing the ball. You want to stop the running back from running. You basically go and tackle people and try to make them fall over the ground.
So we know touchdown, so you basically stop the touchdown.
I try to stop the touchdown. I try to stop the fun. I'm on the no fun team.
Wow.
Yeah.
For how long do you train, and what is the process? And because you also study something completely different,
right?
What's the balance between them? What is your usual day?
So in the U.S., we always call it a student athlete, and so those are your people playing a sport for the university and also studying. Here, it's the same thing. So you know, we all have our classes at VU. We're all full-time students, whether it's bachelor's or master's. Last year, we even had a quarterback getting his PhD. So we're serious students. You know, we're really focused on studying, but on the weekends, you know, we're at practice. Usually it's Friday evenings and Sunday evenings, sometimes Wednesday mornings. So you're kind of in school all week long, and then you're giving up your weekend to train and practice with your teammates for a few hours each day. So it's a pretty big commitment. You know, you have to be a good time manager and really dedicated.
Sounds difficult.
It's a bit of a balance, yeah.
Yeah. And how many people are in the team?
I would say we have probably about like 60 or 70. You know, we have a pretty
60 or 70.
60 or 70. It sounds like a lot, but then you think about, you know, there's 11 people playing at one time, and everyone needs a backup or so. So you have 2 or 3 guys at each position, and eventually the roster kind of fills up pretty quick.
Where do these games happen? When is the championship?
Yeah, so our season is usually from the fall, and then we kind of pause in the wintertime and then start again in the spring. And usually we play at the Hoevate Stadion and Ravelen Stadion by just off the U3. And so it's usually these 2 fields that we're playing, and it's a really cool game day experience because you have 4 different universities playing on the same day with back-to-back games. So you can show up at noon and watch the games for a few hours, get some käsekränne and some beer and hang out, and then watch the next game right after. And then there's usually like a little party after the game, and it's a really fun community event.
Sounds like the Austrian Super Bowl.
It's somewhat like that, yeah. But it's amazing.
And with cheaper commercials.
Cheaper commercials, a little more fun. They keep the music going.
Yeah.
It's really engaging. It's a really good time. I think like the engagement and the fun that they create at these games is unparalleled with anything I've seen. In fact, I get more people showing up to my football games here than I did back in America.
Well, because there is I think you get a part of the audience here also because people are curious too.
Right.
How is it happening here? And it's somehow like traveling because it's not popular at all, and you want to see something that is completely from abroad, like American football, which I also would love to come and see, not the game because I don't understand it, but to get an overall foreign atmosphere coming from the US, see how you guys do things. And the team is made, are there other Americans in the team? Or?
As far as I know, I think I'm the only American in the league.
You're the only American to play American football?
As far as I know, in the college league in Austria, yeah, I don't know any other Americans. Some of my teammates have done like an Erasmus in the US, but I think I'm the only American player as far as I know. But it's really fun, when I came here 2 years ago, I didn't really know anyone, but football is football no matter where you play it. And so as soon as I came in, I found a family immediately. I had like 50, 60 brothers on the team that would take me out to get some beers. I learned a whole lot of German words I didn't know, a lot of like Austrian dialect words I didn't know. And coming here, it's been awesome. You get friends immediately and grow some really strong relationships. And so I feel very at home when I'm playing football. I don't feel like an American living in this foreign community. I feel like an American at home, you know, and I'm learning German and they can speak English, and we kind of improve each other. So it's been really fun.
Where are you from in Northern California?
So from Eureka, California,
Eureka?
Which is about 1 hour south of Oregon. So at the very, very top, about a 16, 17-hour drive from Los Angeles.
So 16?
16.
That's how big California is.
California's a really big state.
That's why they want to split from the rest of the US.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, is it hot there as well?
Where I grew up, it rained a lot. It was like on the beach, but kind of Seattle weather, rainy, dreary, kind of like a day we're having today. Beautiful redwood trees, lots of vegetation, flora and fauna, but not the typical LA vibe that I think a lot of people assume that California is.
Yeah, well, when you say California, obviously first thing that comes to mind is LA and LA weather. Right. I mean, but is it Northern California that is good for surfing, or am I getting it wrong?
I think everywhere in California is pretty good for surfing. We have some bigger waves up in the north, but it's difficult because we have a lot of rocky beaches. So you have to find a safe spot. Yeah, it's a little risky. Yeah. Do you do surfing yourself? I did sometimes growing up. I did a lot more when I lived in Southern California with the military. But it's really fun. But the water is just a little bit cold in the Pacific, so. Unless you have like a wetsuit, it's a little cold.
So how did you end up in the military? So what was the process? Did you want to go to university and was too expensive, or because I thought of doing that once as well. Yeah. So I'm curious, what was your process?
Yeah, so it's pretty much like that. In the U.S., college is crazy expensive. I think the average right now is like $36,000 a year or something ridiculous, and not that many people have that money. So for me, I always wanted to experience the military. It was always something interesting. I think every little kid, when they're like 9 years old, plays with toy soldiers, and I just never grew out of that. And of course, I wanted to go to college. So if you serve for 4 years in the military, you get 4 years of university for free. So felt like a good, trade. I ended up staying 7 years, a little bit longer than
7 years.
7 years, yeah, a little longer than I anticipated, but it was a really good experience. I got to travel all over and work at some different embassies and meet a lot of good people, and it was a cool experience to have as a young man. I got out when I was 25. I joined when I was 17. So after I did the military, I felt like I could kind of do anything.
So right after high school, you joined?
About 2 months after I graduated, I was in Marine Corps boot camp, yeah.
Did they come to your high school and promote it, and that's how you onboarded?
Yeah, they do. They come around kind of like salesmen, you know, like, hey, you know, you interested in the military? And being here in Europe now, it feels a little strange.
Yes.
The military can just come onto campus. It's a little predatory in a sense, but I have no regrets. I'm glad I did it. It's allowed me to get 2 degrees now, and I feel really fortunate that I got to experience it, yeah.
Were you ever positioned in a hotspot or only peaceful countries?
I mean, I served in the Middle East and in Africa, but I mean, nothing really ever that crazy. I was working in intelligence, and so nothing ever that crazy. And
so you weren't all the time in the field?
No. Sometimes for training I was, but a lot of the time I was just kind of on base, you know, working out, training, and sometimes you would spend, 2 or 3 weeks in the field, like camping and hiking around and things like that. And I did that when I was like an instructor, and then I was tired of doing all this training and everything, so I transitioned to work at the embassy with the State Department, and I did that for 3 years. What were your military rankings or grades, or how do you call them?
Yeah, so was there upgrade or transition for you?
So I got to the rank of sergeant, which is what we call an E5.
Where do we start?
So you start at E1, which is a private, and then you can make it to private first class.
Who's the let's say the basic soldier, just what we know by the name of soldier is private.
That's a private, yeah. So usually within your first year, you're probably going to be a private first class, and that's kind of like the base level entry position. And I got promoted about five times, and so I was a sergeant, which is the first. It's a non-commissioned officer rank, so it's kind of like a middle manager. You're not at the bottom, you're not at the top, you're in the middle helping the lieutenants and captains and younger guys, and you're like a liaison, a mentor kind of thing.
Then how many privates did you have when you were a soldier or when you were a sergeant?
Yeah, it can kind of depending on like what your task is, how many guys you have. Sergeants can have maybe 12, 13 guys under them. I think at the most I had like 6 or 7, and that was when I was the like deputy commander of the Marine security forces at the embassy. So I'm looking after their well-being, training, helping guys get adjusted to the new country they're living in, and it was like a really cool experience to have guys working with me, and I learned a lot about leadership and trying to treat people as good as I can and take care of guys, and it's helped me a lot.
What was that kept you longer than 4 years you needed for university? Was it because by the time you got into the embassy, which was more like a real, not like a real, but was a job rather than in the military, and so you were also doing fine and you were paid well, or what
it was something like that. I did the first 4-5 years kind of just doing my regular Marine training and lifestyle, and I was at a bit of a crossroads where I could have left the military and gone straight to college, but I also had this opportunity where if I wanted to, I could volunteer to go work at the embassy. And it just seemed... Volunteered. So it's a pretty prestigious role in the Marines. Only the Marines get to guard embassies around the world. I don't know if that's because we have the best uniforms or, we just look good.
Is it the blue uniform? It looks like a pilot one?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like the blue uniform, white belt, blue pants with the red stripe. In the U.S., it's pretty iconic. But it seemed like a good job was working at the embassy and getting to travel the world. So I thought, why not sign up for 3 more years, travel the world, and I'm really glad I did it because it completely changed my life. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't gotten to live in Budapest for a year. I wouldn't even be playing football if I hadn't moved to China and played football there for 2 years. So it was a really good experience.
In which embassies were you stationed?
So I was at the U.S. Embassy in Bamako, Mali, in Africa, and then the U.S. Consulate in Shanghai, China.
Where in Africa is it?
Bamako, Mali,
South?
like northwest Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, landlocked country of Mali, and then Shanghai, and then did my last tour in Budapest, Hungary. And then I got out of the Marines like right in the middle of COVID in 2020.
Did COVID influence your decision?
No, but it was kind of funny because I left China like maybe a month before COVID started there, and then I was in Budapest. I was like, we're good.
Well, don't say it like that. It looks like you brought it in.
Yeah, maybe. But so COVID happened, and it didn't really like affect my timeline. I just happened to be done with my military contract at that point and looking forward to going to college.
Saying it like that sounds like you stopped doing something that everyone would love to do or would kill to find that position. Why would you leave that?
It's a really good question. I mean, a lot of guys and gals stay in the military around the 10-year mark and kind of make it a career after that. For me, my dream was to go to college and play college football. I loved fitness, I loved working out, I loved traveling, but despite being able to have all those things in the military and work with good people, I wanted to try something new and see if I could do it. I was a okay player when I played in China and Budapest, but I wanted to see could I do it in America. And I'm really glad I did. It was fun. You have the 6 a.m. workouts, you have class all day and then practice in the evenings. And I really got that full American college football experience that I wanted. And the structure was really helpful. I mean, I went from being in the military where every day is very regimented and going to play football in the university. And it's also very planned out, very methodical. And I think there's a lot of similarities between being in the military and playing football.
What was like life in China?
Amazing. Wonderful country. Shanghai was an amazing city. The food was incredible. Beautiful, beautiful city. That was like the first time. I was 23 when I moved there. It was the first time I got to really live in a city and have a mostly like normal lifestyle, hang out with friends, go to the bar, travel around. And up until that point, I had been in this very Spartan kind of military lifestyle. And then living in China was like, wow, I can finally experience what other 20-year-olds are doing and just kind of live. And it was amazing. And I think that really opened up my mind. Seeing how other people lived and seeing other countries and languages was really exciting at the time,
Is language a barrier over there?
Honestly, not as much as I thought it would be. I thought that I'd have no idea what anyone's saying, but so many people spoke English, and I even tried to learn a little bit of, Mandarin and Cantonese when I was over there. Didn't stick very well, but no, the language barrier wasn't a problem. At least in Shanghai, English was, spoken widely.
Did you get used to the food?
Love the food. I miss it to this day. I think when I first showed up, I was a little surprised at some of the menu options. But as I lived there, I just really, really started eating everywhere I could and just trying new things. And it was fantastic. Good food, good spices.
What about, because especially in the American news, there's obviously the mocking of China all the time and not liking it. But what it is like in terms of restriction, because you mentioned that you actually in China, after the military, you did experience regular life as a young person, but then there, on the other aspect, we hear about restrictions that there might be or might not be. Was it regular to you, or how was it?
Honestly,
as much as you can say or want to say about this topic.
Living in Shanghai, it's a world city. There's so many expats living there. It's a very international community, and sometimes it didn't feel like I was in China. It could be London, it could be any other city, And personally, I didn't feel like there was that many like restrictions or surveillance or anything. I mean, they have cameras a lot of places, but it felt very free, it felt very open, felt incredibly safe. And, I don't think whatever restrictions you hear about in the news really permeates into society in a way that you directly come in contact with. I was shocked, being an American growing up, you always hear the media talking maybe in not the best tone about places like China, and almost creating this sense of fear or like a xenophobia in a way. And for me going there, it was very eye-opening to see that, people are people. They just want to have fun, they want to work, they want to eat good food, hang out with their friends. And it was so eye-opening for me to just see how people in another country lived and, experienced public transportation for the first time and good food and activities. And it was cool. It was a really neat experience. Opened my mind.
You only drove your car in the U.S.?
Yeah, in the U.S., drove like a Chevy Silverado pickup truck everywhere, like the typical American, and then in Shanghai.
I love those cars.
Oh man, that's great. But I have to say I am a huge fan of the UFIs, and I love public transportation, and it's a game changer.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense here to drive a Dodge Ram or the Chevy that you mentioned.
I don't think you can fit it anywhere.
Exactly, because you cannot fit it and you don't need it and you struggle to park it. But over there it makes a lot of sense. The roads are wider and everything is so far, and their public transportation is inexistent, especially if you live in the suburbs. Obviously you do need a car, and now I also understand why cars are bigger, because you travel more and you do need the comfort of space when you're driving, because you drive for a very long time and you wouldn't drive in a Smart. You get back pain after 30 minutes of drive. So it kind of makes sense. Do you keep working out now besides what you do for your training?
Yeah. I still go to the gym. I really enjoy going to the gym and everything. And if I'm not at class, and I'll usually go work out with a couple of my buddies or something like that. And fitness is something I think is really important. In the military, you had to work out every day.
Yeah.
And after doing that for 7 years, it's just kind of ingrained in me. You have to stay fit.
What is use every day, but for how long? It's a 1 hour workout?
I don't want to be in there more than an hour. I have other things I want to be doing. But
in the military?
In the US, it would be a lot of cardio. So usually your 5 a.m., 6 a.m., you go for like a 4 or 5 mile run. And, a lot of guys would go to the gym.
Every day?
Almost every day, yeah. Maybe every other day.
Okay.
So it was a lot of running. And then some guys go to the gym and lift weights and stuff as well. So sometimes you're getting 2 workouts in a day. You do a lot of hiking, things like that, yeah.
And here, do you have a special program, or you just like to stay fit?
I just like to stay fit. I don't do anything too specific. I still do kind of your typical football workouts, squats and bench press and stuff like that.
Which gym do you go to?
John Reed right now.
Which one? The Schottentor one?
Yeah, Schottentor. I like the sauna they got there in the pool. So
I just signed up for that, but for the new location. They're opening a new location, Schottenring.
Okay.
A couple of stations away from Schottentor, and I got a great deal because it's just opening.
Nice.
Starting in March.
Right on.
But I think with your membership at John Reed, you can also come at the Schottenring one.
Hopefully, because it's a little busy, a little full at the Schottentor right now.
Yes, I heard so, and also because of the location, everyone I think likes to hang out there.
I'm actually curious.
It's like a golf club.
It kind of is. It's like a very social atmosphere. But how do you feel about gym memberships in Europe? To me, it was a complete surprise when I would sign up and it's a year-long contract and it's inflexible. That blew my mind. Is that normal?
Apparently, it's standard, but Western Europe, back where I come from, Albania, it's not like that. You pay per month, and it's cheaper than here.
Right.
And you do get to talk to a personal trainer from time to time. It's always a person who's there that you can ask questions about something. But here, everything is extra paid. And I also found it at first, compared to the US gyms, that was the last time I was in gym before coming to the gym here.
Right.
And I remember there's something with X, quite of it's a national thing there.
I don't know.
And I used to pay $10 per month.
It's a deal.
And you have everything. It's just everything there, including sauna, and the gyms were huge, and there was always parking space, and of course. But here, yes, it's more expensive. Yes, gyms are smaller. And you have this 1 year commitment.
That's crazy to me.
Which doesn't make sense at all to me. Why should I commit for a year?
Right.
I'm not going to be here all summer.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think they say you have the chance to pause it. Well, 1 year is a lot.
It's a long time, and to be locked in at like one.
Why should I be locked in the first place? Why do you need this?
Right.
Why do you want me to be locked in?
Right.
I don't get it.
Right. It's a little stressful.
We end up doing it because that's the only option. But we, from March, when the new location open, you should come there sometime. And
Pop in, we're gonna work out.
Yeah,
sounds good, man.
I'm curious to see your program.
Yeah, I think it's not anything too exotic or crazy. Just some upper body, some lower body.
Yeah.
A lot of stretching and stuff. I mean, I'm 29 now. 30's around the corner.
Yeah.
I want to stay in good shape. So.
Yeah, I get it. I'm 32, and I do the same thing. I don't have a very special program. I just do everything, and I don't have a gym leg day. I have leg day and upper body day every time I go to the gym.
There you go.
Because I just want to stay fit. I don't want to build a body or something, or show off or do things, and nothing like that. So it's.
I mean, just getting in the gym and being consistent and everything, it's so good for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sharp.
Yeah, especially as you said now with the 30s and up, and we should really
take
look
care of
after our health, because we're not going to give up beer.
No.
We're not going to give up smoking sometimes. Do you smoke or not at all?
No, thankfully.
Well, you're going to smoke cigars sometimes.
Yeah, I guess so. When I get old enough, I'll be able
if you start playing golf,
I'm sure
more often here.
Be regular, yeah.
I mean, drinking, and you do eat some pizza sometimes and all that. So it's either giving that up at all, or going to the gym and balancing things out.
I don't think that's possible. My guilty pleasure is a case of Kleine, like late at night, and so gosh, I love those and a good beer. I was surprised when I came here just how much people can drink.
Yeah,
I was not ready.
But it's also because the beer is good. It's really good.
A lot better than American beer.
Yeah,
I have to say.
But it's also more expensive than the US.
True. But I think the quality is worth it. In my opinion. It is worth just like the living quality here. Some things are more expensive, but I think happiness and life quality is just so much better here than in the US.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being back.
It depends. For me, it's hard to say that one is better than the other. I would just say that it's different rather than one is better than the other. Sure. It's different, and it exactly depends on what you're looking for, what do you want to do. If you're into making money alone, and that's it, that's all you want to make money, I think the US is a better market for that, because there's only a limit to how much money you can make in Europe, especially in Western European countries.
Right.
If you're not starting your own business, and a real profitable business. And salaries, I mean, you're going to have a high salary, you're going to live well, but then you're never going to get the numbers in your bank account as you can get them in the US, which is the reason why I chose also to be back in Europe, because it's not only about the money in your bank account. It's about everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the quality of life that you mentioned.
I mean, in my opinion, I think that's the most important thing. I mean, sure, you can start an LLC in the US and make a lot of money, but you're also spending so much money to get the healthcare, to get the different things, to live in the city. I just think despite that higher salary, the bang for the buck really isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And here, I can have an apartment in the middle of the city, go to university for a very cheap price in US dollars, and see my friends, walk over to their place, hang out. And I don't think I've ever been so happy as I have when I've lived here, and I just feel healthier too. I mean, you're eating better food.
Yeah, food is better.
I don't know if you've had McDonald's in America, but
only once, but it's terrible.
It's terrible. And then you come here and it is so good.
Yeah,
that's another guilty pleasure. The McDonald's here is really outstanding, but
I don't often go there. I've only been to McDonald's twice in my life. Once in the US and once here in Vienna.
All right.
But it's because of what you said, that you can find, because there is also good food, and sometimes because food is also good at McDonald's, and I cannot really find you know, when sometimes you really want to eat shitty food and just feel bad about it and just get that beer and that greasy burger and eat it, and that thing is becoming hard to find even at McDonald's because they don't do it that bad here. So you just end up in a kiosk buying a doner somewhere, some kebab, exactly. So that's where I go when I want to eat something like that.
I mean, some late night kebab. It hits. It's different. It's good. You know, after a couple beers, it is really nice.
You usually go out in pubs or hang out at friends' home?
Kind of a mix in between. I mean, there's so many good locations. When I first moved here, I wanted to explore, and so I was going out to a lot of places. Now, more often than not, just kind of hanging out at friends' flats and having some wine and dinner and these things.
It's coming with the 30s.
yeah, I can see the pace kind of slowing down, you know. But when I first got here, I was like, oh my gosh, Vienna, like new experiences, and now I'm like, passion, you know.
Yeah, people are like, should we do something this Saturday? And you're like, why? What do you mean with that?
Yeah.
Just gonna stay home, open our bottle of wines and order food and watch a movie.
Right. But something I love about Vienna that I don't think we really have in America, it seems like there's always something happening in the city, and there's options for things to go and experience without drinking. You know, they have film festivals, there's so many activities, ice skating. And I feel like in the US, there's really not always these opportunities to do so many fun things. And here, it just seems like there's always something going on, a Flohmarkt, you know, movie screening, something, you know, and so you don't always have to go out to the bars and drink, you know, there's a lot of options. And I don't think I've ever had a boring weekend. You know, when I first moved here, people were like, oh, let's hang out. And I'm like, yeah, you know, tomorrow. And they're like, well, actually, you know, I got to look at the calendar, schedule you 2 weeks in advance and do all that. And it's, I believe it, because there's just so many fun things to do here.
You mentioned movies twice, the film festival. Do you go to the movies often?
I like the movies. You know, it's funny, I've seen a lot of movies here, and it's always like a bit of a struggle to make sure I can find a movie in Showtime that's in English, you know, because I've seen a couple movies when they were in German, and I'm only like a B1 level, you know, so I'm not understanding everything.
But also, even if you get at C1, when you get at C1, you still don't really enjoy it. Plus, it's even if it's in another language that you speak better than German, if it's dubbed, it just loses.
You gotta watch it in the original language.
Yeah, even if it's in Korean, it doesn't matter. Just put the subtitles there, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
You a Squid Game fan?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I heard the Korean, and I was like, oh, maybe my guys.
No, but there was this good Korean movie, The Parasite. You remember it a few years ago?
Great movie.
And I saw it in Korean. I wouldn't want to see it because it's something about the language and the way actors.
It's more authentic.
Yeah, it's authentic, and that's what I want to get. Doesn't matter. I'm not lazy. I can read some subtitles. Not me personally, but people can, and I think they should stop dubbing movies in the movie theaters. Sure. It's losing everything. I mean, the director struggles on set to make the actor say the lines well, and you just end up dubbing.
Yeah. No, I like seeing everything in the original way, and I think film is such an awesome way to kind of experience a culture. Like, you know, if I watched like a K-drama or, you know, a German-produced show and watch it in that language, it hits different. It's more authentic. I think the first German show I watched on Netflix was Dark.
Dark, yeah.
And, you know, I think I watched maybe like one episode in English, and I was like, I can't do this. So I went back to German, and it was just so good, you know, and even now I still hear some of the words and phrases and stuff, and it's like, I'm glad I experienced it like that.
I stopped watching Dark, I think, in the third season. They did 18 something. Was it the movie or the third season?
I think it was the third season when they go back in time, kind of thing.
Yeah, that go really back in time, which was the end of season 2. That they meet Adam is the name of the.
I think so. Yeah.
Adam, and that he's old and he's like kind of the mastermind of all this, and that's when it got a bit. Too much. That stopped making sense.
Yeah, the show was heavy. Yeah. But, it's been a couple of years since I've watched it, but I try to consume as much. You know, I'm really passionate about learning German. I mean, for me, coming here, I want to stay in Vienna long term. This is like my home. My friends are here now, and I think it is a sign of respect if you can speak the language that people speak here. And even if I got to C1 level, I mean, I know I'm an Auslander, you know, I'm gonna have a bit of an accent and stuff, but at least I can try to make an effort. And so I try to listen to German music or, you know, Austrian artists and stuff as well, and, you know, intake as much as I can, and you take language courses and everything.
You do language course now?
Yeah, I've taken, it's kind of funny, I've signed up for my 4th intensive language class at the B1 level. I'm just stuck at this B1 plateau. It's been really hard to get to that next level, but I'm trying to get there, you know. I have a lot of time, you know, it's something that you work on forever, but it's frustrating when you're hanging out with your friends and then, you know, if they say something in German, you don't quite catch it quick enough and you want to participate in the conversation and you're a little bit slow.
Yeah.
So I'd like to improve so that way I feel less guilty when my friends switch to English, even if, you know, there's a group of like 15 of us and there's only one English speaker and they all switch to English for me, I feel kind of bad. So I'd love to be able to speak German with them and you just feel a little closer, you know?
Yeah, if they're real friends, they should keep it in German for you.
Right. Make it a little hard for me. Help me learn.
So you can learn.
Yeah.
So you can practice. But it is it's a very tough language.
Yeah.
Which is one of the language you, again, wouldn't want to have it, listen to it dubbed in English. No. Because it completely loses.
Right.
Sense of
How many languages can you speak? Is it pretty normal to speak like 2 or 3, would you say?
Including the native language?
Yeah.
Including native language, I speak 5.
5, that's correct. If you came to America and were like, oh, I speak 5 languages, they would think you're the most impressive person in the whole world.
Yes, I remember where I used to hang out in a place and I did some working hours there as well, and people were impressed by this, which was here in Europe no one is impressed because everyone speaks several languages.
Which is the American mind can't fathom. In America, if you're bilingual, that's like the most impressive thing ever. Here, everyone's at least trilingual, you know, usually.
Yeah, but the thing is that the chances are much higher here to learn different languages because you cross the border, it's a different language everywhere except Austria and Germany, or maybe France and Switzerland a little bit.
Well, I don't think I think any Austrian would tell you they don't speak German. They speak a different language in German.
They speak Austrian. They can say that. It doesn't work for me. It's still German. But that's the thing with Europe, that you're bombarded with different languages, because if you travel, you'll have the tendency to catch something from another language, and you also have the tendency to return to the countries you go, especially if they are nearby countries. So you start learning a few phrases, you start getting. Plus, there are so many, I would say the most dominant languages in Europe are Latin languages originally, the French, Italian, Spanish, and Latin. It's not easy, but Latin formulated, structured languages are easy to learn, because, I don't know, because I'm not into linguistics too much, but it just sounds easy and makes sense, and it's, when I hear Italian, it's easy to follow it, rather than when I hear German, even at this day, 4 years later that I speak German, if someone is not talking to me and that I know that someone is talking to me in German, I wouldn't turn my head. If someone just talks in German to me, I wouldn't turn my head. It's just it's not clicking.
I get that.
Like the other languages, which is why Europeans speak many languages, are just easy to.
But I think it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, the people I've encountered here, everyone is so culturally aware, can speak multiple languages, knows about current events happening in all these different countries. I mean, I hate to say it, but like, you know, the average American, a lot of times we don't know things happening outside of our own country. And it's really impressive when you talk to young people and they know about elections happening in this country, you know, challenges over here. Like, they can speak about so many different topics. They're so well educated. And I am jealous that you get to grow up in a place where you have exposure to so many different languages and cultures. In the US, you don't really get that. You know, it's such a big country, and we travel states the way you guys travel countries. But I just think it's wonderful. People are so well informed here. Yeah,
and to add to that, what might be the difference and why is it like this? Is because the language is number one factor, in my opinion, because in the US there are 400 million people overall,
like
pretty much, something like that. So if you have, let's say if you start news media in the US, your audience is automatically huge. And if your media is it's immediately so big, and you have the tendency to do something for the people there so you can make more profit, and it's easier to turn into a corporate. And by turning into a corporate, you're just going to start promoting whatever works and whatever will make you money, rather than an independent level of it. While here, something that really changes things are public grants.
Okay.
Because as a media, if you get a public grant, you're not worried that much, at least not in the first year, about making money in every way possible. And by that, I mean just promoting things that everyone knows. You do have a little bit of the luxury to promote things that are not so popular, but you think that still it's good to let people know about it, because you have the comfort of doing so because of the grants that you might have received. On the other hand, this should have been a reason for innovation, which Europe is lacking a lot behind, and it's not really catching up with the US.
It's tough seeing, struggles within Austria, within different countries in the EU, and especially with the new American administration in office, seeing the disconnect between differing markets and everything. It's as an observer, it's strange seeing, one country in their market's doing really well, and then here I feel like the life quality is so high, but then the barrier to entry into business and things like that, and the bureaucracy is so thick, it makes it so complicated. And so it's really strange to see. I mean, I'm not that well versed in it, but I like to read the news somewhat, and seeing it, my friends even trying to start businesses and all the hurdles they have to jump through, the permits, it is just so difficult to innovate, like you're talking about, and that just naturally makes it so much harder for markets to grow and businesses to grow and money to be made. So it's challenging here, no doubt.
It is, and that's why many people just don't start a business with their idea. And I meet people with great business ideas, and I meet them again after 4 years, for example, and they still have the same idea that didn't take off, just because it's so difficult to start things. And the money that you do require, first of all, you do require a lot of money here to start a business, which not everyone has. While in the US, you register a company just like that online, and I think it's $150 or something like this.
It's pretty affordable,
Yeah. Here you need at least 5,000 euros for the company at first, that you need to put to the company right away, plus other business consultation expense for things that you would never understand first time how they're done. So you need to pay also someone to help you with that, and
that's really hard if you're just starting out.
And I mean, I have this. The point is, I have this idea, and I want to turn it into a business, so it can be profitable. So just let me start it, and then when I'm profitable, I'm going to pay taxes and all other things that I need to pay later. Why are you taking all this money from me? I don't get it.
It's difficult.
It's difficult, and they make you pay the taxes up front when you start a business. So they want to make sure that you pay your taxes. Why am I going to fund the money?
Yeah, and that's hard. It is really hard.
Because going back to the grants, yes, I can apply for a grant. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to get it. Second, to apply for a grant, you need a company. But you need money to start a company.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like this catch-22 thing. You can't break in. You can't.
It's a circle you can't break. It's exactly like that.
That's hard.
So you can either have, for example, yes, you can register a company and you have 6 months to pay it, or a year until you get your grant, and then when you get money, you pay the money that you owe to a company foundation or something, but not right away.
I mean, it's for these reasons that I have so much respect and awe for the people that do want to start their own businesses here. I mean, in the US, it's impressive as well, but here there's the bureaucracy and how difficult it is, and the startup money. It's really impressive when people can make it work. This is like a tough climate, to start a business, but
it's a very tough climate. And also, when you think about it, the people who are more energetic to start a business are young people, because first of all, it's also physically feasible to start a business when you're young, because you have so much energy and you don't care about back pain and sleep. You just work on your business idea all day, all night until it comes to life. But if you're in your early 20s, you don't have money because you didn't have time to save money. And when you have worked for so many years and saved money and you're 30 or something, then you don't have the nerves and the energy anymore, or the time, because you're also starting a family and all that.
You're always lacking one of the three, the time, energy, and money. You're always lacking one of those.
Exactly. But if it was a bit easier for younger people to start businesses, I think it would be so much better here.
Yeah.
If there was an incentive, if you start your business until you're 25 or something like this.
Sure.
it'll work out just fine.
Sure.
I mean, I saw recently that more than half of Austrian companies want to relocate outside Austria because of the bureaucracy. Maybe.
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, the bureaucracy thing is so crazy to me. I mean, when I first moved here, dealing with like the immigration or the IMA 35, yeah, and like everything, it seemed like you would see them in person, and then they would want to respond with a letter in the mail, and then so it would take like a full week to do in the U.S. kind of, you know, what could happen by email or something in one day, and it was just really shocking to me to see kind of the lack of speed. I think that certain things happen here, and the level of bureaucracy that's like everywhere, and it just makes like every part of life so complicated.
Yeah.
And gosh, I don't know how. Yeah. This is a normal part of life here, I guess, but.
That's the sad part, because they say, yeah, it's just the way it is. Well, it doesn't mean that it should stay like this forever. It's always, it's never too late to start changing something.
Right.
I know that people who work there might have gotten used to doing things like this, and sometimes I believe they want to keep it like this because it's how they keep themselves in the job. Because if it's faster, then less people will be needed.
Yeah.
And if it's all emails, then less people will be needed in the office, less people will be needed to print that paper, less people will be needed to produce the paper that they're using. So they think that these will lower the market, but now it will just shift it and make it more productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like AI. It's not taking anyone's job. It's just making people's job easier and faster.
Right. Right. I mean, I think some people, when they encounter change, you know, they just see it as a threat. You know, it's so easy to perceive any change as a threat. And when we were in the military, we'd always say, you know, there's two things that people hate. It's the way things are and change. You know, they hate both. You know, it's so easy to complain about how things are, and then as soon as something changes, you complain about that too. And I think that's just a human nature thing. But I think in any aspect of life, if you can just embrace change, and you're like, all right, you know what, I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm going to have a good attitude, be enthusiastic, and try to learn and grow, then, you know, I don't think it's such a bad thing to experience change, and that's how you grow.
That's how Austrians say when you ask them, how are you doing? They say, I'm doing fine, but I wish I can complain.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. There was this quote from the writer Jean-Paul Sartre in a book I read once, and it says, sometimes I wish I could change things and make them better, but I also don't want to, so I can still complain.
Sure.
It's a human nature.
Love to complain.
Yeah. Always. You will always complain about something. That's why they still complain in Vienna, and with all the great things that you said, that they are true, how beautiful it is here and how clean everything. But then they just like to complain. It seems like they keep the bureaucracy, so there's something to complain about.
Yeah. If you're not complaining, you're not happy, I guess.
Yeah. So you wouldn't leave Vienna?
No way. I love it here. This is my home now. I mean, after 2 years, I've found such great friends. I feel planted. You know, I feel like this is where I should be. It was a huge leap of faith, of course, for me to leave America and just move here, kind of sight unseen. I mean, when I first moved here, I didn't understand where the districts were and kind of the geography of the city, and so I knew I was going to the Vienna University of Business and Economics VU, but I didn't know that it was a separate university from Uni Wien. And so I found this apartment on like Willhaben and saw it was really close to Uni Wien, and I was like, oh, I'm going to Uni Wien, I think, you know. And so I like signed up to go get that apartment, and then you know, I signed the lease and everything, and I was like, oh, this is great, I'm pretty close. And then I searched, you know, the directions on my phone, how to get to VU, and I realized it was like 40 minutes away, and I was like, what did I do? You know, so I made some mistakes when I first came here.
You still live there?
No, I've relocated to the 4th district now. I was out in the 17th when I first moved here.
But isn't it still far from VU?
It's not too bad. Now that the U2 goes all the way to Karlsplatz, it's pretty convenient for me. But I mean, when I first moved here, like a 45-minute commute to VU was tough, and now it's only like 20 or so. So a little easier.
The 4th is a very beautiful district. I love the 4th and the 9th.
Beautiful.
Most beautiful district. But the 4th also because the buildings are lower.
I feel extremely lucky to live there, and I live right across from a U-Bahn station, and so it's really, really convenient for me to go in and out. But I just like every day, and I walk out and I see all the beautiful Altbau and the architecture here. It's hard not to feel like a tourist every day that I'm here. And when I walk by some Karlsplatz or Schantor and I see the Votivkirche, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I live here, and I don't think there's going to be a point in time where I don't notice those things. I'm really, really thankful. I mean, it's so beautiful, and gosh, I don't know. I wouldn't trade Vienna for anything. I feel extremely lucky to be here.
Do you think of going back to the military for some time?
No, I did my time, and it was a good experience. There's some things I miss about it. I miss kind of that team atmosphere. I miss the structure. But I'm much happier now as a free man. I can travel when I want. I can live wherever I want. I have that freedom of control over my own life, and that's priceless.
You're here on a student visa?
Yeah, student visa. Hopefully then on a work visa later,
after studying?
Yeah, I'd love to.
But now, do you also work?
Right now, no. I did have a part-time job for about 6 months in a hotel.
Okay.
I really wanted to see if I could work in Vienna in a job where I had to speak German like the whole time, and prove if I had what it took. And it went great. It was really fun.
In what area? You don't have to say the name of the hotel.
It was in the 4th District as well, kind of near Hauptbahnhof, and so we'd get a lot of travelers from all over.
Is it the hostel?
No, it was a proper hotel. But we had people from all over Austria coming, sometimes a lot of Americans, Italians, everyone. So it was cool encountering all these people, experiencing Vienna also as a tourist, and getting to recommend places to them was fun. But it improved my German considerably, and it was a good time, except when people would call in, maybe from like a village somewhere, and they'd speak very dialect-heavy Austrian German. I was like,
and you cannot switch to English to them.
No.
Because they are calling in Austria, so you have to speak German.
Exactly. It was like a
all the Austrians should live in Austria.
So that was a good experience, but that was the only job I've worked out here.
Hotels are great to practice the language, and because you're also in communications, it's also great for that. And every job that has direct contact with a customer, you learn so much about any other job, and it serves you for the rest of your life, because you really see how people behave.
Absolutely.
In real life, to the demands that they have and to the answers that they get.
And you have to be on your toes all the time, and even try to anticipate what they want. And so I think learning how to think quickly in a foreign language was really beneficial for me. And I'm absolutely glad I had that experience as well. My boss was awesome, my coworkers were awesome, and I told them straight up in the beginning, I was like, hey, my German's not that great. Like, I can speak, I can do things, but I will get better, It's kind of like a risk taking me on in the beginning, My German was a little dodgy, but it improved so much. And just having the opportunity to hear everything in real life, in real time, and have to think on your feet was a great experience, and proved that I could do it, and it was cool.
No, definitely. Then you were in a reception, right?
Yeah, reception.
I did that too for a little longer.
Yeah.
And it's great to practice German. It's great to understand how people's mind work, because, as I said, it's authentic, and they are not, like when you have a business meeting with someone and you don't really know how they really are, because they care about having a different personality when they meet you.
Right.
Either they want to sell you or buy or whatever. But when someone comes to your hotel, they don't care about you at all, and they are who they are.
Yeah.
And that's what you get, and that's what you understand, how people work, and understand more about the psychology of people and how they behave. And you actually become a good salesman by working in hotels or restaurants or bar, if you want to become a salesman. And the third thing is that you have flexibility of time, actually, especially as a student. It's great. I can't remember how many exams I passed because I studied during my late night reception
during the night shift,
hours.
you know, cracking open the books.
Yes, it wasn't complete night shift, but it was like until 2 a.m. sometimes.
Okay, it's pretty late.
No one there. You just open the books and study and do your thing and all that. I don't know if you did that too. You were also a student, right?
Correct. Yeah, I worked a job mostly over last summer, so I had, you know, some free time. But it was great I love to read books, and so, you know, as soon as the last guest kind of goes to bed and you're chilling in the evening, I'd love to read. And God, I felt like I was knocking out books like crazy when you have 2 or 3 hours of uninterrupted reading time for days. It was really good.
Yeah. You reading something cool now?
Right now, I'm kind of in between books. I am really fascinated with history, especially World War II history. You know,
you know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because I think it's a period of life, of men's life. When you reach the 30s, you start with history documentaries and history books, and it's always World War II. Because I'm into the same thing, but tell me about it.
Yeah, my girlfriend always jokes I'm like a 50-year-old man, you know, always watching these.
Like Tony Soprano, just watching history documentaries.
Exactly. So I really like military aviation and planes and things like that. So I just read this big book called Masters of the Air, and it talks about.
Is it the one that they based the series on?
Yeah, the Apple TV series.
With his,
Austin Butler's in it, Cal Turner, I think.
Yeah.
Great series. So I watched that, and then I had to go read the book, and I really enjoyed it, and it's just fascinating. You know, they talked a lot about like the psychology of the experience of, you know, these young people, 18, 19, 20 years old, going through these things, and it's kind of funny now, you know, as 30's approaching, and I was in the military at the same age as these guys, but when I read about some of the things they did and how they rose to the challenge and were so strong, it's crazy to think like a 19, 20-year-old is doing that, but I was also in that age. But it's, I don't know, it's really fascinating, and just love history, like biographies and military, but it's such a normal thing for every guy.
It's becoming,
a golf addiction, military documentary and history addiction.
It's super fun. I've been watching Churchill documentaries recently and got some history books as well. I probably happened to you too that you read novels a bit earlier in your age,
and you do the transition to
nonfiction now, and a bit of biographies and history books.
Absolutely.
And we'll probably get back to fiction in our 50s.
Probably. But I mean, I think there's just so many valuable lessons you can learn from biographies, especially. I read one last year about General Eisenhower and later President Eisenhower, and kind of the themes of his leadership style, and his great philosophy was just compromise. You know, he was kind of like this diplomat and general at the same time, bridging all of the American, Canadian, Polish, French, and American forces together. And what he realized is, you know, you have to be a diplomat, you have to compromise with people, and being aware of the nature, human nature, people's cultures, and always realizing that every decision you make, you have to encompass all of these values that everyone has, and kind of decide, okay, who gets to win this time, who wins next time, and just be cognizant of others. And I thought that was great as a leader, you know, how to compromise, how to delegate, how to be aware of your people. And I think that's a really important lesson I learned, and I'm glad I read that book.
It's a great lesson. Yeah, biographies are better than autobiographies for one reason, because I don't trust autobiographies that much anymore.
A little biased usually.
Yeah. But if it's a biography of a person who's already dead, and the writer just doesn't care anymore to have that person look different from what they think they were, or from what they know about the person. So because it's dead, it's not trying to. Whereas an autobiography is trying to sell books for themselves to make more money and to make themselves look better, or. I don't think they even, especially celebrities, I don't think they even write them anymore.
No, it's just all ghostwriters. You need a little pinch of salt when you read those. Absolutely.
I saw Josh Brolin did also a book, the actor, but he was saying this, that he wrote the book, but he doesn't want to say it because it will sound fake, but he really did. I don't know. It's hard to.
I mean, it's a big undertaking to write a book, and feel like it kind of opens you up. It's a vulnerable thing to write about yourself and everything, and the less bias you have, the more honest you are. I mean, it makes a better read, but it's also like inviting so many people into your life is probably challenging, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then with the names, because you're going to mention so many people who are still alive and maybe you don't like or they don't want to be mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why biographies, let's go with biographies. Especially biographies of people who are already dead, passed away. So
you can learn a lot by reading someone's life. Yeah.
And you also listen to history podcasts?
I do, man. I'm a really big history nerd. You're exposing me today. I love to listen to like news and history podcasts as well. Usually about like World War II history as well, and just today's news. So.
There is this cool podcast that I sometimes listen to. It's called How to Take Over the World.
How to Take Over the World. Haven't heard of
Ben
that.
Wilson.
Okay.
And he does biographies of important people in history. And it doesn't mean that those people were good necessarily, but the point is he studies them and shows what was different about these people that made them so great in history. I think you'd like if you check out this one. It talks about Caesar, it talks about also bad people from history, but it's still interesting the way he studies them. And because he reads many books about them, and then he does this sort of a summary of what he knows.
Do you think you could ever write a book?
Me?
You can host a podcast. You think you could?
I have written a book already and published one.
Right on. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to give me some tips. So someday in my 50s, when I get really into the history, I can write a novel or something.
To me, it was. I wrote a book with 10 short stories, and I was lucky enough that it got published by the biggest publisher in Albania, where I was living. But I didn't think too much about it, and I thought so. Some months later, I regret it. But then now, years later, I don't regret it anymore. I only regret it for a short period.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it was the stories I wanted to tell, and I just told them as I knew, without thinking of making them literally correct or following a certain style. I just told the stories.
Very you, very authentic.
Just tell it. Just like we're telling stories now, and then the editor will take care of what's correct and what's not correct. And that would be the advice.
Do you feel like, what did you learn from that experience being an author? I mean, do you feel like anyone can write a book? Do you feel like it's harder, easier than you thought?
I don't think anyone can write a book. Not because I wrote a book, because it was so few copies of it. But I don't think anyone can write a book. First of all, because of the patience.
Okay.
People think that writing a book it's almost close to a hobby that you enjoy. You should only enjoy doing, otherwise don't do it. Yes, you enjoy writing, but it's almost a military discipline if you want to set to write.
Right.
You should sit with your plan and program, and yes, you can doodle some ideas when you're drunk. That's the romanticized side of it.
Yeah,
but,
the Hemingway.
Yeah, the Hemingway way. But as Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober. Then it's the next morning that you should really write. You can have notes and ideas when you're out there, but it's real work.
Absolutely.
That's why some people, I don't think everyone can do it, because you have to sit and you don't see the products of it right away. You're not going to be paid at the end of the month as a salary. You're not going to have anyone pat your back or correct right away what you're saying. You don't deliver it at the end of the day to your boss. It's just you.
You have to be very intrinsically motivated.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I think that's the hardest motivation.
And it takes time. First of all, you should enjoy typing or writing with your hand. You should enjoy that and be patient. It takes a lot of patience. And second, I don't think because most people want to tell their stories, and it's the way it is. And even if you're telling someone else's stories, you don't understand that you're putting parts of your story in it, because it's your perspective of someone else's story anyway. You're going to put yourself there, and not everyone is ready to expose their views to the world. They don't want to do it. That's what I got when people read what I wrote that was a bit personal. They said I wouldn't do it because it was so personal.
Okay. Like we said before, it is very vulnerable and it opens you up,
Other than that, telling stories, it's not the only the writer's job or or skill. You're not a writer because you know how to tell a story. Everyone who tells stories in their life can be a writer. You know, when you meet an old man who's not a writer, but you meet, you know, and they start telling the stories in the same way.
Right.
Once upon a time, and
they spin some yarns.
Yeah, but that's the story. You just make it a bit more accurate when you put it on book, thanks to the editor. But that's the story. And if you know how to do that, when you tell a joke and you don't spoil it, that you know how to tell a story because you're not spoiling the joke. And there are also these people who tell a joke, start laughing, and then ruin the joke. So those people don't know how to write a book.
Well, that's tough because I always end up laughing at my own joke before I can tell it. So maybe author.
You don't spoil it, but you should definitely try it. If you have, I think you.
It seems rewarding.
Yes. One of the reasons why I wanted to join the military when I was in the U.S. is because I wanted to write a book.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think you have so many stories.
Maybe. I think the hardest part, maybe as an author, is just finding the story you want to tell. You have so many experiences in life, but what's the lesson you want to pull? What's something you want to highlight? I think that's challenging. But hats off to you to make it happen and getting published. That's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. This guy, David Goggins, you probably know him, right?
Heard of him, yeah.
He's making a good deal of money with books.
Surely is, yeah. I haven't actually read any of his books yet, but I see those books on every shelf when I go to Barnes & Noble, back in the U.S. And I like the message, I like his idea, and I like what he's about. I think that stuff's really motivating, but I have yet to pick one up in person.
I read his first book. I think it's called Never Going Back, or something like
something
this.
Like that.
Yeah. It was a good book. I was expecting a bad book, but because he doesn't do many interviews and stuff, but he did a podcast. He done 2 podcasts or 3 overall, I think.
Yeah.
One Rogan and one Huberman, and Angie Huberman, and another one, I think. So the way he was talking there was something real. Well, okay, I'm gonna buy his book, and I did, and it was a good book.
Yeah.
He did what I was saying. He just told his story as he thought his story went. There was no accurate literary fiction to it. It was just a raw story.
Okay.
You would even get it more because he talks a lot about military and marine life and tests and things that I just disregard the names because I don't know what it is. But I like the process that he went through, and I think he's a record holder for getting 3 types of tests that are So it's Navy SEAL, Marine, and another thing.
He's walked the walk. Yeah, I think it's really impressive. There was another. I think it was an admiral in the Navy. He might have been a Navy SEAL as well. He was speaking at a college graduation once, and I love his speech. And the main thing was, the main punchline was, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
But it's the same person? It's not the same person.
I don't think it was the same guy. I think
maybe it was the same event?
It could have been, but that speech I always think about, and they're both SEALs or military people, and I think about that quote, like every time I make my bed in the morning, anytime I start doing the dishes or do anything, it's funny, like you build so much momentum by just doing a simple task.
Yeah.
And I think that's so great in life, and you can, I think, pretty easily achieve whatever you want to if you just start with small, actionable goals, and then you build on that, and then it gets a little momentum going. And I think that's something I take away. I take that personally, like every day. I always think about that.
It's a lot about consistency. You should do that every day. That's how. That's when you're gonna see the results.
You ever watch Star Wars?
I watched Star Wars, so I should go back to them at some point.
I was watching Empire Strikes Back last night. One of the 1981, and there's a great line in there where Yoda is talking to Luke Skywalker, and he was saying, there's no trying. You do or do not. And then Luke replies, it's like, I didn't believe it was possible. And Yoda says, that's why you fail. And I was thinking about this. And I was like, gosh, that's such a great way to live by. Like, there is do or do not. You don't try anything. You just do it or you don't. And the power of belief and believing in yourself and this unshakable confidence to overcome any challenge, like that is such a powerful weapon. And if you can just be confident in whatever you do and just go for it, and you don't care what happens, because if it fails, goes wrong, and you learn from it, great, you grow from that. And if you accomplish your goal, also great, that's a dream that you made happen. And so I love some of these books and some of these messages, and I think I dwell on that stuff a lot, in my day-to-day life. But it's amazing what you can learn from just picking up a book or watching a movie, and how it speaks to each individual person differently.
Yeah, that's why it's a great movie, because it's simple, and it's true, and it talks to everyone.
Right.
And I completely agree. It's you either do it or you don't do it. It's not trying. And David Goggins does the same thing. He runs every day, and he runs like a marathon a day so easily. I don't know how he's done so many knee surgeries and stuff. And it's exactly, you want to run, just go running, and that's it. There's no, it's bad weather. Yes, just wear better clothes if it's a bad weather. There are now so many clothes that you can wear if it's raining, snowing, or whatever. You can put your headphones, and you have different type of headphones to enjoy your run or whatever. It's just if you want to do it or if you don't want. If you really want to do it or if you don't want to do it.
You just have to make it happen.
Yeah, just make it happen. And that's it. That's the way to do it. That's the way to go. And it's true. It doesn't matter if you fail. You learn. It's so simple. You just learn.
Right.
It's a bit of a wrong opinion in the startup world as in Europe, which is the opposite to the opinion in the US, that here if you failed with the first startup, they won't grant you money for the second startup. It's harder. Well, the way I see it is the way that the US does it. If you fail the first time, which means that you learned so much, and now you're not going to do what you did the first time, you're going to make it better.
Right.
And the same thing when I started at the International 2 years ago, and the things that I wrote about the plan and the budget plan and all that now just don't make sense at all to me. And I'm like, how could I write this? It doesn't make sense at all compared to real life and what's out there in business or in running or whatever. It's just because you learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly.
To learn, you should do it.
That's the best way to go. And I'm sure every mistake you made or, a little goof here, you learn from it, and it improved you, and you've made a better product from that. So I think like a fear of failure or fear of rejection can be so disruptive, because sure, it doesn't feel great when it doesn't work out how you envisioned, but if you're able to learn from it, pivot and do something else or improve upon it, I think failure can be the best lesson out there. And so you just have to have the confidence, the guts to go and do it. And it's hard, but it's so rewarding when you try and try and try, and you finally break through and achieve what you've been working for, and you grow, and the confidence you get from that is incredible.
And you don't need to win 100 times. You need to win once.
Yep.
That's it. It's like you need to win once, or if you go to a place where everyone you think it's a bad person or it's not working or it doesn't do their jobs, if it's an institution or whatever, you only need one good person from there.
You only need one opportunity.
One, sure, go there, or sure, do this. You don't need everyone to be like that. Doesn't matter. Then it's up to you to continue to do the rest.
Right.
If you win once, if you have one good person to show you the way at some point, that's all you need.
That's absolutely true. And I think too, once you've kind of accomplished that goal or that task, if you can kind of pay it forward and find someone else that was in your shoes, and you can kind of help them along, I think mentorship is a really good thing. And one lesson I think that sums up my whole military experience was the golden rule. Follow the golden rule and treat other people the way you want to be treated. And I think if you put good energy out there, you get good energy back. And I think you never know where help is going to come from. You never know what experiences are going to happen. And I think just being happy, having a positive attitude, helping others, and just trying to be a good dude in life can pay dividends. And maybe you help someone one day, and that comes around and helps you again in the future. And I think everyone can learn by just helping other people and being a good sport.
That's a great quote to wrap this up.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you very much.
And I think we should get a beer soon.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Perfect, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.